welcome to round 3 of my Battle Royale series, where I'm pitting 20 movies against each other. The ring's kind of just for decoration. It's basically just a ranking. Basically, I'm just watching 20 movies, and some of them are picks that I've seen so many times that I don't need to give it a rewatch right away. I can still properly rank them. So these are like definitive rankings for me, because all the ones that I've even seen before that I don't really 100% remember what I would give it, I rewatch. So it's taking me a little bit longer to get each episode out, because on this one I've probably watched 12 of the 20 again for multiple viewings. So this is my proper 20 of this episode, and this is a stacked episode. I'm going to jump straight to it by getting them in the ring here. This one, I had already watched these 3 because I just did a Rob Zombie ranking, and I've seen all of these so many times now. But this is the Firefly trilogy, House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and 3 from Hell. All 3 of them are entering as separate contenders. I got Django Unchained. I have this 3-pack here, which includes House of Wax, Return to House on Haunted Hill, and Ghost Ship. All 3 of those are going in. I have Steven Spielberg's Duel. I have the Lord of the Ring trilogy on 4K here. All 3 of the movies are separate. They're all going in separately. I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Next up is The Hateful Eight. And then we have The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Like I said, a few of these I've covered in the last few weeks, so they didn't need a rewatch. I just put in a few adders in there. Have The Gift. So I got this Steel Book of Evil Dead, the 2013 edition. We have Sinister. We have Army of Darkness. Scream Factory 4K there. And then I'm putting in, from this Evil Dead box set that I've shown off before on my channel, I am putting in both Evil Dead 1 and 2. I have to put this whole book in because it's the only way I have the movies. So the whole book's going in here. I will stick it up on the ropes. Nope, that won't work. It's gonna have to go right in between the ropes. Just like this. There we go. So yeah, that's my 20 for this episode. Beautiful box set here too. I'll show that off quick. Slides in, just in case you didn't see it on my previous episodes. I broke mine, so this piece actually comes right off the end by accident, but that box set also comes with Ash vs. the Evil Dead, the complete series on Blu-ray. The other 2 movies on 4K. So, that's my contenders for this episode. It's a stacked one, and to be honest, it was hard. It was really hard for me to rank some of these against each other, because, like, I have a few 5s here. 5 out of 5s for me. A whole bunch of, like, 4.5s. Only a couple that are duds, to be honest. The rest are all pretty solid. So to get rid of a couple of the duds here, at number 20, I have from this 3-pack, this is Return to House on Haunted Hill. The middle one here. I ended up giving this like a 1.5 That will have to go back in because it's still got 2 more chances. But it's just, I like the first House on Haunted Hill. Uh, Obviously the original, but I'm talking about the 90s version because this is a sequel to that version. And in this one, there's a couple decent jump scares, and Jeffrey Combs is in it as the doctor that works at the haunted asylum, and as a ghost. And it's everything else. Like, it just feels so cheap. It's so weird. Like, the CG is all really fucking bad. It feels like just like an asylum film. I don't know if you guys know the company, The Asylum, makes Sharknado and stuff like that. It feels like that level of CG, but in like a Warner Brothers pick. It's weird. You can tell this is just like a cash out sequel. I gave it the 1.5 just because there's a couple parts that are interesting, but for the most part, the storyline's kind of, well, it sucks. Let's be honest. Everything about the movie sucks, and then there's a couple like mediocre things. Like there was a couple jump scares, but it's just a new group of people, a bunch of scientists, and then a bunch of like mercenary types, and they all go into the place looking for a treasure, and they end up. I think one of my lights just flickered. Huh. I think it was my kitchen light. Oh well. Sorry if you catch that on camera. Yeah, they're just looking for a treasure, and then there's betrayals, and this person is actually working for this person, that person's working for this person, and it's just a bunch of fucking who cares. So yeah, that's my number 20. And then at number 19, I have the first elimination for the Rob Zombie Firefly trilogy, and that's 3 from Hell. Anybody that just watched my Rob Zombie 3 from Hell, anyone that just watched my Rob Zombie ranking knows that I wasn't a huge fan of that one. That one I gave a 2 out of 5. And I think that might even be high. A 2 might be too many. The first half of the movie I enjoy a little bit. I think it's intense. There's some decent scenes with Baby and as she's getting out of the prison, and I think that's all good. But then when they escape to Mexico, that's where the movie just loses me completely. Except for, and this is what a lot of people absolutely hate, I actually don't mind the lucha libre gangsters. I think that's all cool, just not in this movie. Like, it's hard. It really sucks. Because, honestly, this movie shouldn't exist. Devil's Reject should have ended. They shouldn't have had a third one. Because all you're doing is ruining it. And not to mention, you can't even have Captain Spaulding. Because Sid Haig passed away. So it's like, I don't even understand what the point was to Rob Zombie doing that. He must have just been bored. Wanted to make a movie. He's like, alright, I'll just do another one of these. It just sucks. I would have liked to have, instead of him doing this movie, he did a new movie that we hadn't seen. But yeah, most people have probably seen 3 from Hell, and I've talked about it in other episodes, so I don't need to go in depth on that. There's a couple things I like, and most of it I hate. And then at 18, I have my second elimination. These 2 trilogy, 3 sets here are getting hit hard in the beginning. This is Ghost Ship. I remember liking this more when I was younger, when it first came out. And then upon this rewatch, I realized how shitty it is. I gave this a 2.5, which is also being generous. I think all the ghost stuff is awesome. It's the people that arrive to the ghost ship and how they behave and all their dialogue, and it's all fucking bad. Like, I don't care about any of these people. I don't, like, they all just, rub me the wrong way, I think is what's happening. Their side storylines all suck. They're boring. But I like all the ghost stuff. Like, I like the opening, I think, is really good, where everybody gets cut in half. The whole ship. Excellent opening scene. Makes you think this movie's going to be promising. You're like, oh, wow, that's a pretty solid opening. And then it just does nothing with it. There's a couple good scenes I like. There's a scene where Carl Urban and I can't remember the other actor's name that's sitting with them, but they're like hallucinating and they find a bunch of food and they're eating it, and then while they're eating it they realize it's just cans of maggots, and it's pretty freaking gross. Like, they open their mouth and it's all maggots coming out of their mouth. It's pretty gross. I like that scene. There's not much. There's not much to like. I enjoy a couple aspects of it, and the movie isn't garbage. Like, it's fun, I guess. Don't take my word seriously for that movie, because I remember liking it when I was younger, when it first came out. When I watched it this time, I think a little bit of nostalgia. Like, I was sucked in the whole time. I did pay attention. I didn't, find myself just being like, oh my god, hurry up and end, you piece of shit. And that's why I gave it a 2 out of 5. Or 2.5 out of 5. And that's why it's sitting at 18 out of 20. Next up here, I don't know if a lot of people have seen this one, but this is Duel. This is Spielberg. One of his first movies. It is. It says it right on it. Steven Spielberg's first film. This is like 1972, 73. Of course, you're not going to tell me on the back. I don't know what it is. Oh, okay, it is 71. Decent. I gave this a 3. This is the first one that gets taken out. I gave it a 3. This 4K, I'll start off with that. 4K looked awesome, but I've never seen this movie before. This was the first time I had ever seen it. So I don't know how much of an upgrade. I'm guessing pretty good. But it looked really good. I was shocked. Doesn't look like it was made in 1971. Looks newer than that. But for anybody that's seen Joyride from like 2001, somewhere in that area, with Paul Walker, this is, I think the guy that made Joyride is a super fan of this movie, because it's pretty much the same thing. This businessman is going from town to town, and he ends up getting a transport truck chasing him. They don't give you really a reason why at all. It's just a transport truck starts chasing him, and the whole entire movie, from that point on, is the truck basically right on his ass the entire time. Like, he pulls over a couple times, he thinks he got away. Oh, he looks out, the transport truck's there again. So it's basically Joyride. Without the talking. Like, you don't know whether this trucker even exists for the most part, I guess. Like, it's kind of... It's a weird one, but I think why I only gave it a 3, I like Joyride better. I only gave it a 3 just because of how much I don't know what's going on. Like, there isn't enough explainer in it for me. I know for some people that's amazing, but I just feel like the movie just needed a little more, like, why he's doing what he's doing, why he's being chased. Just something. But I didn't mind the ending. I won't ruin it, because a lot of people probably haven't seen it. And this 4K is definitely worth picking up. It's a 3 out of 5 for me. It's not bad. And that's a first time watch as well. And then next up at number 16, I have The Hateful Eight is up next from Quentin Tarantino. A lot of things to love here. This is a 3.5 area. Can't remember. I think I gave it a 3.5, but if just ranking it right here, right now, it's a 3 to 3.5 for me. Like I've said when I was doing my Quentin Tarantino ranking video just a couple of weeks ago, I find all of Quentin's movies to be phenomenal if you like the genre that he's tackling. So, I'm not a huge Western fan. I'm not a fan. I just haven't seen a lot of them. So, I like the whole Western setting, and it doesn't really appeal to me yet. In the future, this one might rise and become one of the bigger ones once I go through like a Western movie phase where I'm just watching shit tons of Westerns. But I think that's the reason why this is the lowest. Well, it ain't my least favorite Quentin, but it's down there. And I do love a lot of the intensity. I think Kurt Russell is awesome here. I think, what's her name? Oh, fuck. I can't believe I can't remember her name. The lead actress in this, Jennifer Jason Leigh. I think she's awesome. She's the best in the movie, I think. And it has some twists at the end, like Quentin movies usually do. Who's who, but everyone's just locked up in a cabin, basically, and they can't leave. And every character is possibly somebody they're not. And it does have greatness to it. That's why I just assume that some people, this might be a 5 out of 5, and this might be one of their favorites by them. So, for me, though, it's like a 3.5. Still a must check out. And then next up at number 15, we have our second elimination from the Rob Zombie Firefly trilogy, and that is House of a Thousand Corpses. This is a 3.5 as well. Up until the last watch of this, I had this at a 4, and it dropped down to a 3 to 3.5 for me this time. And I think I just realized how bad the writing was. I think that's what happened this time. When I just did my Rob Zombie ranking and watched through all of his movies, I noticed a common trend happening in his films, and it's terrible writing. I think that's the biggest problem with his movies, is that they have awesome concepts and everything's there, but then the dialogue is just so shit, and I don't know. This one dropped for me, but it's sitting at number 15 out of a 20 stacked ring here. And I won't go in great detail on House of a Thousand Corpses. If you want my deeper thoughts, just go watch my Rob Zombie ranking. And then I am going to eliminate this Firefly House trilogy, or Firefly family, because at number 14 is Devil's Rejects, which I think is a little bit better than Corpses. That's it for that one. Get that out of here. I didn't rewatch these because I just watched them a couple weeks ago, and I think I'm done with Rob Zombie, until he puts out a new movie. I've seen all his movies enough. I think I'm good. It's time to move on to new movies that I've never seen before. And this one is 3.5 for me. A solid 3.5. And it's mainly just because of the soundtrack. I find all the acting to be mediocre as well. Just as all these characters are in all the movies. They're all almost good to me. They borderline on whether or not I like them a lot. But I do think that this is one of his best movies. And I think that this trilogy should have ended here, because the ending to me is really good. It's one of the reasons why it's a solid, a stiff 3.5. It ain't moving from there. and I just like the soundtrack. The music playing throughout the whole movie is just that dirty South rock, Southern rock, which I enjoy. And it's time for me to be put this Rob Zombie trilogy away into the top shelf of my collection up there, where I'm putting all these movies, because I am just going through my entire collection and watching them all, so it's time to put some of these away. So that's it for that. That's the last time I'll talk about those movies. And if you haven't seen the trilogy, check it out. And then, next up at number 13, we're going to be eliminating this one, because House of Wax is next. Now, this is already a 4 for me. So, I'm at 13 out of 20, and we're already at a 4 out of 5. And I enjoy this movie a lot. It's not great. Like, most of the actors and actresses here are pretty cheesy, but that's what this movie is. It's just a cheese fest, and I just love the concept, which also isn't original, but I just like when they stumble upon the whole town and it's all wax people, and it's creepy. Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, when he's like one of the first ones to go, and when he gets waxed and it's just his eye moving around, and then they start peeling. His friend tries to save him, he's peeling his face, and it's just chunks of his skin coming up. It is pretty gross. There's a scene with Alicia Cuthbert where she's trapped in the basement. She sticks her fingers up, and he cuts her finger off. That part gets me. The part where her lips are super glued, and she like pulls them apart, and it's tearing her lips. That part gets me. So there's a lot of good gore. Paris Hilton's kill is really good. Lots of good kills. That's why this is a 4. A 4 out of 5 for 2000's remake is pretty good if you know me, because I'm not a huge fan of the 2000s horror in general, but this is a standout title to me. A solid cast. It's actually hard to believe that this is all the way down in 13th place, because it just goes to show how stacked this matchup. But yeah, check out. Everyone's probably seen House of Wax, so I don't need to say go check that out. But this is a decent 3-pack too. Like, you can either buy these two separately from Scream Factory and pay like anywhere between $20 and $40 each for them, or you can buy this 3-pack, which all the movies look and sound solid. I just watched them all, and you get the third one for free basically, and this pack's only like $18. Like, I'm all about saving money when I can. Obviously I can't say saving money because my collection is like everywhere in this room, but when I can save money, I do choose that option. And then this one is going to be very controversial, to say the least. I have my first elimination from this book, and this is another 4 for me. And this is going to be Evil Dead 2. It's a 4 out of 5, but it's going to be eliminated at number 12. This comes with the 4K and the Blu-ray, so this is a pretty nice set to grab here. I know that's blasphemy for a lot of people, because this is like their favorite in the franchise. I have a little bit of a problem with it. Like, it's so hard, because I don't want to shit on the movie, because I don't think it's shitty. Like, it's a 4 out of 5. It's fucking good. That's a solid score. But the thing that I don't like the most about it is just how silly it gets. And at a certain point, I'm not really enjoying it anymore. I found on this watch, I just rewatched these again for this episode, and I just found, I used to say and think that this was like my favorite in the franchise, and after this watch, I found some of the humor wasn't landing. I don't know if it was just my mood, but I didn't like it as much as some of the others in this franchise that are still coming in this episode. And uh, it is what it is. There's some things I still love. That's why it's at a 4. Um, a lot of the just quirky humor I actually do enjoy. I think Bruce Campbell, this is him, like his best performance basically of possibly his whole career. I think he goes out on a limb. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't need to shit on the movie because I don't think it's shitty. It's still top-notch movie making. So everything going forward, these are all 4 to 5s from me. So I'm just trying to pinpoint out a couple things that make it less than my next pick, and that's about it. Everyone's seen all these too, so there's no point in me going on and on about them. Next up at number 11, I have The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This is another 4 out of 5 for me. Just talked about this when I did my Scott Derrickson ranking, and I'll just hashtag repeat myself, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that. It's a good courtroom drama about terrible events that happened to Emily Rose, which end up leading to her becoming like an actual saint of the Christian church. And there's some solid acting going on here from everybody. Like, it's crazy. It's good because it's different. Like, it's not your typical exorcism movie where you're just hitting all the cliche things. It's like courtroom drama, and it plays out like whether or not exorcisms should be allowed at all, and whether or not you believe she was truly possessed or there was other things happening to her, because it's a true story. Just a lot of good, solid acting, and also a couple pretty disturbing moments as well. My favorite moment is probably when her boyfriend finds her and she's laying on the floor and she's just like, her eyes are black and she's just stuck in a position, and it's really uncomfortable and brutal. That's one of my favorite moments of the movie. Just a lot of good tension. If you haven't seen Exorcism of Emily Rose, pick it up. Add it to your collection. You won't be disappointed. I don't think there's anybody that would watch and just be like, ooh, that was shitty. Like, I don't think so. Maybe. And then, next up at number 10, we're bringing in another Sam Raimi movie. This is The Gift. This is the Scream Factory 4K here. Just came out not too long ago. Looks awesome. Sounds awesome. I didn't even have this movie on any format. So this 4K was a nice treat. Comes with the Blu-ray too. Yep, says it right on the package. The 4K and the Blu-ray. So if you're looking to pick this movie up, this is obviously the best way to grab it. It's a brand new 2024 4K restoration as well. It's not just from something else. And I'm guessing once this sells out, it'll be hard to find. It's got Dolby Vision, which is always nice. Yeah, awesome release. And now the movie. I love this movie. This is a 4 again. I just think that the storyline is so good and the acting is so good, and everyone nails it. Cate Blanchett, just solid. You just feel for this girl, like you feel for her in this movie. And like her husband, I'll give you a little sum up. Her husband died, and she's raising the kids alone now. So to make enough money to get by, she reads people's fortunes. So everybody in this town thinks that she's just a horror witch, basically. And no one likes her. But there's a few people that go to her, including Hilary Swank, who, when she shows up to her, she's always like covered in bruises, and it's because her husband beats the shit out of her. Who you then find out is Keanu Reeves, in probably his most asshole, brutal role of his career. He's a horror show in this. Just a piece of shit, basically. Woman beating, abusing, just not a nice dude. And he does an excellent job as some of his better acting too. That's one of the stories going on. It's cool because it's almost like an anthology, because all the stories, she's meeting all the people. It's not an anthology, but it's kind of like it, because she's just meeting all the people and you're meeting them while she's meeting them, while she's doing her readings, and each one of them have a different story that plays out, but then it all wraps itself together very nicely. So it's almost like an anthology, but not one. That sounds stupid, but it is like that to me. You got Katie Holmes and Greg Kinnear's story here, where she's Greg Kinnear's wife, and you find out during some like scenes early in the movie that she's hoary, she's sleeping around town. Well, she ends up going missing and possibly murdered. And I'm trying to not reveal things, like not ruin anything, just give you a sum up. You got Giovanni Ribisi's storyline here, and his is probably the most brutal. He is very unstable, and you can tell he's barely holding himself together. And his story, the outcome is, it's not pleasant. It's just brutal. And then all their stories just wrap up nicely into a murder mystery with, like, just character building. This is a must grab, honestly. I think this movie is so underrated, but to each their own. That's a 4 out of 5. That's at my number 10. And then cracking out my top 10 here, starting at number 9. We are officially eliminating this book. The original Evil Dead is my next elimination. I'm going to slide it away. Amazing filmmaking here. Not gonna shit on this movie. This is another 4 though. So I give this the same score as Evil Dead 2. I just like this one a bit better. I think it's scary, first off. Like, there's comedy in it, but it's not like the next 2 movies in the series. It's not as comedic. This is more of a horror movie. And it's hard. I have a lot of nostalgia with this one because I watched it when I was young. So I just remember it scaring the shit out of me. And then I remember watching it, and my daughter came out and seen the cellar scene, and she was screaming when she was really young, way too young to have seen it. It was an accident, basically. And so I have a lot of nostalgia with it. And I just think that what he creates with the demons deserves respect, because he, like, created these comical zombie demons, and this is the movie he did it in. The next one, they take it to crazy levels, but this is truly just a bunch of people stranded in a cabin trying to survive the supernatural horrors. And it's just a lot darker to me. Some dark stuff, especially with the girlfriend and burying the bodies and coming back to life. Like, I just love it all. So it's a 4. I know to a lot of people, this is probably pisses you off, because this is like one of people's favorite horror movies of all time. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. It doesn't quite nail it for me, but it's my number 9 in this episode. And then my number 8. This one's gonna piss people off yet again. We are eliminating Army of Darkness. I will say this. This movie I was not a fan of this. This isn't one I seen when I was young either. I didn't see this until like a few years ago. And then one of the first episodes I ever did with Brendan and Sam from Our Life in Horror. This is on their podcast before they even started the YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure Brendan invited me on, and me and him just did Army of Darkness, and that was like the first thing I ever did on their channel, I think, if I remember correctly. So, and this is Brendan's like favorite movie of all time, pretty much. But this edition comes with like everything: 4K of the theatrical cut, Blu-ray of the theatrical, Blu-ray of the director's cut, Blu-ray of the international television cut. Like this is the end all be all pack here. So definitely grab it while it's available. This one, I know I just got done saying Evil Dead wasn't my cup of tea. This is another 4, though. So all 3 of them are 4s for me. I just think I prefer this one of the original trilogy the most because I like the medieval setting. How they didn't call it Medieval Dead is beside me. I don't, like, kind of seems kind of, like, set in stone. That should have been the title. But it wasn't. Army of Darkness is cool too. The humor here lands perfectly for me. Every time something happens, give me some sugar, baby, is pretty fucking ridiculous. I crack straight up laughing every time I hear that. But yeah, everything going on in this movie's good. I'm not gonna give detailed descriptions of the movies because my episodes would be way too long. If you haven't seen anything I cover, just watch them. Like, that's all I can really say. I don't need to sell you the movie. Just go doing rankings and give you a couple parts I like and dislike. It's solid. I want to say masterpiece, but it's not a 5 for me. It's a 4. And I highly recommend checking them out. Grab Army of Darkness. That's probably my definitive score. It probably won't ever go higher than a 4. I've watched it a few times in the last few years now. And I think I'm settled on a score for it. A score of 4 for it. Now, at number 7, I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino is back. This is a 4.5 for me. I know a lot of people say this is his greatest movie. This is his masterpiece. I don't feel that way. I like a 4.5 out of 5. Like, come on, that's almost calling it a masterpiece for me. But I get a little bit bored in the middle act, a tiny bit, not much. Just the tiniest bit where I'm just like, all right, come on, let's get on with it a little bit. And that's it. That's my only complaint of the whole movie. Everything else is insane. Intense-ass scenes in this movie. The ending, I love how he changes history and manipulates it and gives you a hopeful ending to a lot of things. Stacked cast. I just talked about this on my Quentin ranking. All the Manson family kids, they're all like up and coming rising actors right now. Every single one of them. I don't need to go through the list again. It's like 10, 15 of them. Pretty much everybody. The who's who of Hollywood right now is like in this movie as getting started basically in their career. But yeah, solid movie. It's basically just a homage to 70s Hollywood and all kinds of things that were going on in the 70s, and you just get to watch people living in that era. If you love the era, this is gonna be your favorite movie by him. It's another one of these cases where that's what Quentin is. He gives you genres, and whatever one matches you is your favorites. But if you don't have Once Upon a Time, It's a must-own. Now we're cracking my top 6, and all of these are 5 out of 5s from me. All 6 of them. And the first one I'm eliminating is the Evil Dead 2013 remake, sort of. This is just the 4K steelbook that came out from Scream Factory. I think they're releasing another steelbook. Like, at a certain point, this is getting fucking ridiculous. I already had a 4K of this movie. The collector's edition from Scream Factory. And then they put out this steelbook, and it dropped to like $16 on Amazon. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll grab it. It's a nice steelbook. So I upgraded to this, and then they announced that they have another steelbook coming. It's like, okay, enough's enough. Stop fucking trying to 100 dip on me. I have other movies to buy, sorry. This is the final version I'm gonna own. Unless they put out an Evil Dead entire collection in some awesome Scream Factory packaging. This is the final time I buy the movie. But yes, this is one of the... It's one of the best horror movies of the 2010s. It's literally, I think I did a 2010s horror movie ranking on Instagram a couple of years ago. And I think this was my number 2. And it stays the same. This is a 5 out of 5 for me. I love the opening scene. I love Mia. I think the gore is just some of the best in modern horror. Some of the best of all time, maybe. Like, it's awesome gore. Can't really ask for more. If you get any more, you're just getting silly. Blood galore. I love how it ends. I think that everybody's seen this movie. I don't need to go in depth. It's my number 6. For some people, it's probably their number 1 of this entire battle royal. I don't think I've heard a lot of people say they don't like the movie. But, yeah, 5 out of 5. And then next up at number 5 is my favorite horror movie of the 2010s. This was my number 1. This is Sinister. I do need to get an upgrade to this. Nice 4K upgrade. Because this is my number 1 horror movie of the 2010s here. This is Scott Derrickson, the director. Ethan Hawke giving a fine performance. I just talked about this on my Scott Derrickson ranking as well. That's why a lot of these are from that. Because I wanted to put out an episode. So I was just like, alright, I've seen all these like super recently. So let's put those in a battle royal. This is just so freaking good. I love everything about the movie. I just think it's absolutely horrendous. Like, it just makes you feel like shit. It's not pleasant. I think that I'm gonna have my episodic smoke now that I'm pushing the end here. I think that the snuff film aspect really like just gets under my skin. I can hardly even watch those videotapes when he's playing them. They just make me feel so uncomfortable. It feels so realistic. I love the mystery going on. I love trying to figure out what's happening, basically. I just find that so well done. Perfect built mystery horror with an excellent ending. Didn't need a sequel. I'll get to that in a future episode, but amazing movie. Every horror fan has to own Sinister. And if you haven't seen it in a while, just watch it and remind yourself just how good horror movies can be. And next up at number 4, I am eliminating Django Unchained. I'm just, it's my second favorite movie by Quentin Tarantino. Absolutely love it. I love everything about it. This movie nails every category I love. I know I said I'm not a huge fan of Westerns earlier. This feels like a Western. But it's so much more than a Western. Watching Jamie Foxx go from a slave to a badass motherfucker is just perfect. I enjoy every minute of it. I think the acting in this movie is on a different level. Quentin just has a way to pull the best performances out of people, and this proves it. Christoph Waltz, everybody. I don't need to go in. I just did a Quentin Tarantino ranking. If you want to know my thoughts on Django Unchained deeper than this, and check that out. I really want to get like a nice 4K of this. I don't even think it's come out on 4K yet. If it has, it didn't come here to Canada. So I'd have to order it in from a different country, but just perfect. Perfect movie making. Can't be better. And then that leaves the Lord of the Rings trilogy taking the victory. Obviously. This is 3 of my favorite movies ever made in one franchise. At number 3, I have the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring. I think it's so hard for me to rank these 3 against each other, but I did, and The Fellowship is my number 3 of the trilogy. I think that the character building and the world building is perfect. I love every character in this movie, even the villains. They're fucking awesome. I love the journey. I love everything. I'm just gonna keep saying I love over and over again because I just love everything about this trilogy. I think it's the greatest trilogy of all time. I can watch them over and over again. These 4Ks look and sound fucking amazing as well. This must own if you have the setup and stereo surround sound. Unbelievably stacked cast. Don't need to explain Lord of the Rings to you. You know what it is. Either you like fantasy or you don't. Most of the people I know don't like Lord of the Rings. My daughters do, but everyone else I know, like in real life, they're like, I don't like fantasy, and they're just not fans. But I highly disagree with them. I think they're just have a attention disorder. They don't like learning and getting sucked into a world, because the world building is one of the best parts, and the character building. But fucking epic shit goes on. And then at number 2, I have the second one, The Two Towers. And I was contemplating on whether I like the first one and the second one better. My number 1 is obviously The Return of the King, number 3. But out of the first and second movie, it was hard. I was contemplating on which one I like more. And I think the Battle of Helm's Deep is, up until the third movie, it's the greatest battle ever filmed up until that point in movie history. And then the third movie tops it, but it's such a good fucking battle. Epic, and it's tear-jerky, and it's fun, and it's just so damn good. And everything else is awesome too. Like Wormtongue poisoning the king. That storyline I like, and I like how it plays out. King Theoden. I like the storyline. I like everything. I don't have one negative thing to say about any of these movies. And I think that's why they're 3 of my favorite movies of all time. So happy that my daughters both love them as well, and they're always asking me like, let's do a Lord of the Rings trilogy day, because it's like 11 hours to watch all three of these back to back, the extended editions, and it is always a good time. This is one trilogy I know I keep saying that I need to just stop watching things I've seen and start watching tons of stuff I haven't, but this is a trilogy of movies that I will always go to. I'll always watch them again and again and again. So they stole my top 3 spots, but I had to. Like, I was contemplating on whether I just do it as one entry, but I mean, it's not one entry. These are 3 beast of movies, and they deserve their own spots. So yeah, that's my battle royal for this one. 20 more, and this was a stacked. I think this is my most stacked battle royal yet, because I have movies that, like, my number 1 and my number 2 top 2 horror movies of the 2010s in this ranking. I have one of my favorite serious, like Django is insane. I have 3 of my favorite movies ever made. Like, if I was doing my top 100 movies of all time or something like that, all 3 Lord of the Rings would be in my top 10, possibly even my top 5. I think they're unmatched in just epicness and quality and everything. So that's all she wrote. Thank you for watching this battle royal, and if you have any ideas, like if you want me to add certain movies to a battle royal, feel free to mention the movie, and if I have it, I will watch it immediately, and I will throw it in my next battle royal that I'm doing all the time, or the one prior, because I might already have one completed and prepped and ready to go, so it'd be the one after that one. But yeah, thank you so much for checking this out. I hope you enjoy it like I do. I just love ranking freaking movies, and this is a fun way to do it. So thank you, and we'll see you for round 4.